So in today's video we are making these absolutely incredible flower blooms. Stick around to the end because I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Let's go! Right, we're back. Can I redeem myself after the last 2 days of shocking bad luck, really bad luck with filming. Everything I touch seemed to go wrong. So we are here and I'm going to bring you, hopefully, the best flower blooms I have ever made. Now I'm leaving that other project to one side for the moment because I want to test it properly and get it right. So for this one I'm going back to the collab resin. It's a medium viscosity and I just don't want the ocean white to blob. Now I've only used this a couple of times with the flower bloom and I tell you what, it is absolutely incredible. And I'm only going to be using 2 colours and we're going to reverse them as well, and you'll see what I mean when we drop them, and that is a magenta and a dark magenta. Right, let's get mixing. Okay, so my resin is now mixed. I'm just going to leave that to gain temperature. I have mixed up just under 6 ounces of resin. So let's take a temperature check. I've got lots of bubbles in there, so allowing my resin time to warm up will also allow that to degas. I will have an update on the airless machine coming soon. I know there's lots of questions about that machine, so they will all be answered in my next video. So we are currently at 20 degrees Celsius, so we will be back when that hits around 30 degrees. Right, we've just hit 31 degrees Celsius or 30.5. Right, let's mix up our white. So most of you already know how a bloom works, but for those who don't, we need the resin to warm up, because when resin is left in a deep cup for a certain amount of time, and well, over time anyway, it warms up. It's part of the exotherm, the curing process. But what happens when we leave it in a deeper cup is it speeds up the warming process, and the whole process as to how resin cures. So what happens is when we then pour that warm resin into a shallow mould, it cools the resin down pretty quick and the surface contracts, and that pulls the pigments in. If you don't let the resin warm, then your pigments that you put into your clear resin are going to blob. They're just going to sink down because it needs that contraction to pull the pigments through the piece. Just be careful. I've said this in many videos. Keep an eye on that temperature because you do not want your resin to cure, because deep resin can flash cure and go hard very quickly, and it can get very hot. So I'm just mixing. I don't want to be too shy with this time. I do want it to be quite a strong white, not too strong because that can also cause blobbing, which we don't want. I am mixing fast. I'm introducing bubbles that I don't want. Once that is mixed, we can then pour that into our piping bag ready. Just like so. And then take out your bag, twist it, not too tightly because when you cut off the end you don't want it to spray everywhere. And then I'm just going to secure that with some tape. And there it is. And then we can just pour our resin. I'm going to pour one at a time just so the resin retains its heat inside this mixing cup. And then I'm just working out any bubbles stuck in the corners very quickly, and they will rise up to the surface. So for this one I'm going with a dark magenta all around the outside. I'm not being shy with it. as you can see. And then I'm going in with a couple of drops of the normal magenta in the middle. And now I'm going to take my piping bag and I'm going to snip off a wider amount than what I normally do, because I think that's where I've been going wrong with my blooms. I've been too nervous about a few things. So all I'm going to do now is just allow that pigment resin to flow out of the bag. I'm applying a small amount of pressure, not too much, and just following that around. As always, massive shout out to my channel members. Thank you very much. Anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks. Nearly got my words muddled. And then just, I didn't want that little blob to happen. One of those things. Just move that out, just so it's not concentrated in one area. Hopefully that won't stand out. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second one. And again, work out any bubbles that could be stuck. You could spray alcohol before if you want. And with this one, I'm going in reverse. So I'm dropping the light magenta or the normal magenta around the outside. Like so. And then I'm going to drop the dark magenta in the middle. Just one drop. And then we go the same. And I didn't drop anything in that one. I've left quite a big window in the middle because it is going to pull in. And sometimes I get a bit of a mess in the centre. So with this one I've left it a bit wider just to see how it goes. So now we can swipe our design into the first one. You can't really see anything because that dark magenta is really strong. So I'm just going to go inwards. I'm not going as deep as to touch my mould, and I always prefer to work in opposite directions. It's just the way I like to do things when I'm swiping in my blooms. I think it's just a force of habit. It's like a balance for me. And then coming in again on each one. And what I do is I'll do the other one the same, and then I'll get a hyperlapse. Won't be able to get a hyperlapse of this one because the colours are so strong, but I will be able to on the lighter one. Just swirl that middle. If you want, you can bring out these petals. I'm going to leave that one. So you can see I'm bringing that into that negative area, that empty space in the middle, but I'm not taking it right to the center. And I think these are going to be the best blooms I've made so far. Touch wood, anything can happen. And I'm going to be patient this time, and I'm not going to demold them when they're still really too soft. I don't know whether to leave that one as it is and not swirl the middle. I'm going to just a little bit, just to disturb just the tips of what I've drawn in. Right, let's switch to hyperlapse. How cool was that? So what you've just seen there is a hyperlapse over the space of 20 minutes. And there is the other one. So that is due to that warm resin cooling and contracting. So once that's happened, the resin will now just cure. If you are nervous about doing this, use less to begin with as you're doing test runs, and then you can kind of go from there. Less is best. Right, I will see you for the demold. That will probably close in a little bit more, but I do want it to stay as it is. Right, see you shortly. Right, we're all set. I'm gonna just back these. Have I got room actually? I think I have. So I'm gonna try something with these nail powders that you've seen me use in my natural stone videos. So all I'm going to do, this stuff really does go far. Interference powders might work the same. I'm just going to brush all over the whole back of both of the pieces, and hopefully this will give a really cool effect. I don't think we need to worry about that area in the middle unless you can see through it, which we can't. But just make sure you're going right up to the edges, but don't push the mould out, because when we back these with a second coat of resin, that could seep down the sides of the coasters. So I have come in on both of them just in case, because I don't want another day of disaster. So I've just mixed in some black mica powder. You could keep yours clear, you could do it with white, you could do it with different colours. It's entirely up to you. But I really want these powders to kind of show through. So don't forget, 10% discount on all Let's Resin products in the description box below. Don't forget to use that. So I'm just going to mix that in thoroughly. And you can see I've got my heat mat out. That's not me being impatient. Well, it kind of is. But this is what these are designed for. One thing to bear in mind, don't use the heat mat with the bloom, the first bloom that we do, because what will happen is it will lower your resin's viscosity. That will cause the pigments to sink. So don't use the bloom with the heat mat. There could be a way around it. You may be able to do it on a really low temperature. I haven't tested it yet. Haven't seen anyone else test it yet with the bloom, but just bear that in mind. Any heat speeding up the curing with the bloom will affect it. Right, we'll be back when these are cured. Another thing to bear in mind if you brush the back is don't use a wooden stick to move that resin around, because that will scratch the powders that we've put down. So just let the resin self-level out to the areas. If you do need to move it, just touch the surface and manipulate that to the edges. Right, I'll see you shortly. Right, we're all ready. Another must is a level surface. Otherwise your bloom will drift. And we don't want to drift in bloom. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment. If you haven't subbed, hit that button for me. Help support the channel, help support the video. Wow. That is absolutely stunning. You see that colour coming through from the background. That's a really cool effect. I really like that shimmer it's giving. Right. I know I say it with every bloom video, but I think these are my favourites so far, and I love that area in the middle. It's gone off a little bit where I stirred it. I should have left it, shouldn't I? Maybe next time I will just leave it. But look at that blue background. It's absolutely stunning. So I've definitely had better blooms with that ocean white for sure. Definitely. Has this one turned out as good? Wow. That is crazy. Yep, I think so. I think I've done it. I've got it. That is stunning. And again, it's not too much with that background. I love the way it's shown through the gaps as well in the petals. That is beautiful. Right, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly did. After the last few attempts of filming have gone really bad. So if you decide to keep the backgrounds clear, you can do that. Here's another one that I have done with a clear background instead of the black. It's almost the same. Be interesting to see what it's like with a white background. And here was a red and yellow one. But these are definitely my favourites so far. Right, I will see you for the next one. Bye for now.